It's Luke here for SimBoxx, and then today I'm delighted to be joined by the new WBO Bantamweight champion in the world, Paul Butler. Paul, how are we doing?
I'm good, mate. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, great to have you on the channel, mate. And it's the first interview I've had for a while, and I thought, what a better place to start a couple of days after you was elevated into full WBO Bantamweight champion. It must be a great feeling to be a two-time champion of the world.
It is, mate. Obviously, we were all pretty unsure whether they'd actually elevate me to full world champion, but obviously with the circumstances around Casemiro, not doing it just once but twice, I think it was 100% the right decision. I think if you're a champion, you've got to respect the governing body you're representing, and he couldn't seem to do that. So they've obviously stripped him, and I done the business on the 21st and elevated me to full champion.
Yeah, so if I can, I want to go back to December of last year, where December 2021, the original fight, I believe, was out in Dubai with John Real Casemiro, the defending WBO Bantamweight champion. You got your opportunity there. And then fight week, he seemed to disappear. There's a few questions of what went on. He was worries about him making the weight. I believe there's a couple of medical issues where he's provided some proof, I believe. But from your point of view, Paul, take us through that experience. You're out there, you're thinking you're getting this world title shot after the pandemic, after everything that you'd been through, and then for it to be snatched away on fight week.
Do you know what, mate? It was crazy out there. Obviously, I got there 10 days before the fight, I think, and he arrived about 6 days before. And when he arrived, everyone was telling me he's not making weight in. I was the only one saying he will. So we get to 3 days out, 4 days out, and he's literally on the run every day. And I mean, 2-3 times a day sometimes. Where we were all sunbathing and where the pool was, we had to go past the gym to get to there. That's where the doors were to get out. And every day I seen him in there sweat. He didn't hide nothing. It was just sweatsuits on, shades on. He was even starting outside in the heat at 3 o'clock in the afternoon to get a sweat on to go into the gym. Scorching hot weather. And I was thinking, God, he's boiling it in. Still thought he'd make the weight. We get to the night before. I knew nothing about it. I just got a knock on my bedroom door at 7 a.m. saying he's out. He's in hospital. So he ends up in hospital. And then all of a sudden we're meant to be boxing Agbeko, which at the time I thought was a no-brainer to walk away. What do we need to fight Agbeko for? I didn't think they'd strip him because I knew he had 10 days to get a medical report. And I always knew he'd get the medical report because he ended up in hospital. So it was a no-brainer for me to pull away from the Dubai show, because what was I fighting for? A payday. Agbeko was fighting for the #1 mandatory spot and a payday, which he needs. Life or death for him. It was his big world title. He's getting on now. Do you know what I mean? So I thought I'm not even going to give him the chance to. Everyone's seeing what can happen when you look past one opponent. The injuries people pick up, they get stopped. Anything can happen in this game. So I just thought it'll be the right move, and we'll hopefully the WBO will do the right thing, and we'll get it rescheduled, and that's where we was. We got rescheduled to Liverpool.
Yeah, so it got rescheduled for Liverpool. Was there ever a doubt moving into the new year that maybe he'd relinquish the belt, he'd move up in weight, or that he might try going down another avenue? With the likes of Inoue, who's a world champion at that weight, or Danilo Donaire, fights that, from his point of view, might be seen as a bit more lucrative, if he was to go over there and fight in Vegas maybe, or something like that. Was there ever a worry that he might try and sidestep it, or maybe even relinquish the belt and move up in weight?
Well, I speak to a few Filipinos that he's not particularly the most liked over there, to be honest. So I speak to a few Filipinos that message me to start with. I was a bit skeptical about talking to them. I thought, what are these trying to get here? But they started sending me videos of him doing stuff in sweatsuits and just general stuff. And then I started speaking to one, and he was like, listen, he's dying to stay at 118 pounds. He's dying for a Inoue fight. He's just all about the money. He just wants the big money fights. He knows the big money fights aren't there at 122. So he's killing himself to make 118. And I think in Dubai, that was the whole reason why he failed weight in Dubai. I think he looked at me as if I was an easy touch, get past Butler. All we'll do is we'll make weight. and we'll move on to the winner of Inoue Donaire if them two get it on. Now they have got it on, but quite a few of the Filipinos were saying, look, he's just looking for the big money. That's all he's after. And it seemed to be the case, especially out in Dubai. I'm not sure what I don't know why his trainers and that filming him getting in saunas in Liverpool, but that's just as I call them, they're just leeches. They're just latching onto him about they just want a bit of money. They're not there for his best interest. You know what I mean? Even the likes of his brother and that, they're there for a bit of money and that's all. If he had a better team around him, possibly he could maybe do 118. But other than that, I don't think he's there for the right reasons. I think he's there for the money, and that's the be all and end all of it.
You know, we're obviously talking here of a hypothetical fight because it's something that eventually didn't come off with Casemiro. But when you mentioned there that you heard or you had whispers of the fact that he might have been looking beyond you, looking through you at the likes of Inoue or Donaire, you know, you're fighting for a world title here. You're trying to become a 2-time champion of the world. But does that add further fuel to the flame that, you're being overlooked and it kind of like sparks it off inside that, you're not going to overlook me. You're not going to walk through me and I'm going to smash them plans that you've got made. Even though I want to become world champion, there's also this personal side to it as well.
To be honest, I was happy with him cracking on, letting him think he's got an easy fight, because I think if he'd have got him with me there on April the 21st, I think he'd have been in for a right shock, the way I performed on that night. And I think if he'd have got him with me in December, he'd have been in for a right shock again. I think after 2-3 rounds, when his plans was to get me out of there within 2-3 rounds, and he's thinking, this isn't going to plan here. And his cornerman for Liverpool was only his doctor, because his trainer couldn't get a visa over. So they only sent his doctor over to do his corner. And after rounds 3, 4, 5, what game plan would they have come up with that doctor? Nothing. Do you know what I mean? And I had the box the ears off him as well, like I did with Sultan. I was right on it that night and I was always up for it. That's why I had no hesitations at all when they said, it's Sultan. Right, we're going. Let's go. No hesitations at all, because I knew in the back of my mind 8 weeks ago that Sultan was always the reserve. I knew he was training. And then I sat down and watched sparring clips of Sultan that had been uploaded for this camp in America. So I sat down and watched them on the Wednesday. I watched a little bit of Casemiro and Sultan on the Friday, the day of the bout. And then we went into the changing rooms and we had to execute that game plan in the changing rooms within 15, 20 minutes.
That's something that I was going to touch on there. And it's quite interesting that you mentioned it. So the fight gets rearranged with Casemiro originally for April 21st, a big Probellum card in Liverpool, which is a proud moment. Anyway, they stacked it full of local talent, which was great. So was it, I guess the point I'm trying to make is obviously this is huge in Liverpool. You think it's going to be a world title fight, but this guy's got previous for pulling out of fights. So was you approaching the fight with Casemiro whilst also kind of training for Sultan too, if that makes sense? That he was almost training for two opponents because you knew in the back of your mind that he's got previous for doing this?
Yeah, but what world title fight do you prepare for two champions? You know what I mean? It's like it was unheard of. Like 8 weeks ago when it got arranged and they said, oh, and Sultan is the guaranteed backup this time, because when we were in Dubai, Becco came and he was like, we only found out like a few days before that he was the backup in the lift. And we were like, what are you doing here? And he was like, oh, I'm fighting Butler. We're fighting Casemiro. But the whole Sultan thing, I had it in the back of my mind. But for the whole 8 weeks, we joke about who we're training for this week, Sultan or Casemiro. But all eyes were on Casemiro. We trained we left no stone unturned with Casemiro. Every sparring partner that came in was tailored towards him. Every bit of pads, bags, everything, we worked towards Casemiro. So when it came to Sultan, I knew I'm ready for Casemiro here, but Sultan had beat Casemiro, so I thought I'm going to have to watch this kid for a bit now. I watched him for 2 days. And my first message back to Joe was, he'll follow you on the first step back, but on the second step back with your feet, you've lost him. And that's where we can go. And that is exactly what we done on the night. We let him come. He couldn't take his feet again. He was always plodding one step forward. So as we took our second step back, that's where we went. And that game plan worked a treat.
Yeah, absolutely did. It was a fantastic performance. So April 21st, surprisingly, I'm not sure, obviously, from your point of view, I'm not sure if you'd paid too much attention to it, but you were still an underdog against Sultan going in with the bookies. I'm sure a few of your mates won a fair few quid, especially on the decision victory. Was you aware of that on Fight Night, with it being such a late last minute opponent, even though you knew you was possibly going in with Sultan, but the bookies didn't really know that up until fight week. So was you aware of the odds?
Yeah, to be honest with you, mate, I'd wrote my bet out. I always do it. So I'd put myself in with Nick Ball and Tyson Fury to stoppage, and I forgot to put the bet on. I forgot to put my stake down and put the bet on. When I got into the changing rooms, I thought, oh no, I forgot to put my bet on. All three of them came in. The next two were the next day, but I thought, oh no, I forgot to put my bet on. But 3-1 just to win, and then 5-1 on points. All the lads raked it in. Everyone jumped on it, mate, apart from me.
Sod's law. So, with it, as good as that is, that your friends, your family have won a few quid, you've won the fight. Was there a tinge of disappointment maybe that was meant to be the crowning moment? You got the interim title, you'd won in Liverpool, all your friends, your family, all your supporters were there. So, it's a fantastic occasion. But was there that kind of tinge of doubt or disappointment, I should say, in the back of your mind that this was meant to be it? This was meant to be Casemiro. This was meant to be here and now, lifting up that belt, the real belt in Liverpool.
Yeah, it was like in the back of my mind, I half knew that the WBO were going to strip him. But then you've got the other bit of doubt where will they just strip him and then make me box for the vacant title against someone and keep me interim until I box for the full world title. But I think with it being Sultan, I think it made it a little bit sweeter because he'd obviously beat Casemiro. I know it was a few years ago, but he'd still beat him. He's a very good opponent. He's not someone they just dragged off the street on a late replacement. As I've told everyone, he had 8 weeks. He was over here in Birmingham training for 2 weeks. So he was fully prepared, and we certainly had a very good Sultan in the ring. I think it might not have looked it because my performance on the night was very good. But I think we did have a very good Sultan on the night.
Yeah, absolutely. I do think I'm agreeing with you there that it was more of a case of how good you was rather than how bad he was. But just touching on Casemiro for a second and your position as WBO Bantamweight champion of the world, where does Casemiro stand now? Is he able to come back for a shot at your belt now? Is he kicked out the rankings? Are you aware of where he's at the minute?
Yeah, so they put him as number 1. I don't think he's mandatory, but they've put him as number 1. But I'm hearing he's boxing as soon as June. So I don't know what weight, I don't know who he's boxing, but I'm hearing he's boxing as soon as June. So I don't know whether he'll box at 118, be made mandatory. But everyone knows that a unification becomes before a mandatory. So my eyes are all on Inoue and Donaire, the winner of that, come 7th of June, I think it is.
Yeah, absolutely. That's something that I'll get onto in a second. But just with Casemiro, final point. You mentioned there that unifications would override mandatory, so that if he was to become a mandatory, you'd look at unification anyway. But would you give him the fight, given that he's made 2 shots of yours fall apart, and now, as Tony Bellew said to David Hay, the salt and pepper's on the other side of the table, and now you're calling the shots. Are you happy to give him a 3rd shot now he's challenging you, or is that you're moving past that?
Nah, mate, I'm sick of hearing his name. I'm sick of hearing him. I'm done with him. Listen, he spoiled 2 chances for me. First one in Dubai. Second one in Liverpool. He doesn't deserve a 3rd chance, you know what I mean? I think he's just unprofessional. He disrespected the WBO's name, and he's just a vile person. He's up for rape charges in the Philippines and everything, do you know what I mean? He's just not a nice person, and to be honest with you, I wouldn't even want to put money in his pocket. So for all I care, he can try his best to get into the mandatory position to earn a shot. And if a shot with Inoue or Donaire doesn't come about for me, and I have to fight him, then I have to fight him. But if I had the choice, I wouldn't give him a chance now.
Fair play. So yeah, let's look at Inoue Donaire, June 7th. It's a huge rematch. I think it was 2019, 2020. Forgive me if I'm wrong there with the date. It was a fantastic fight first time around. Inoue is looking, like he's living up to that moniker of the monster. And Nonito Donaire is an all-time great. He's a living legend. How are you looking at that fight, Paul? As not only potential opponents, but as a fight, as a fan, it's a fantastic fight. The first fight was great. Who's your money on this time?
Mate, I'm fans of both. I think Nonito Donaire is a living legend, and I think Inoue is going to go down as one of the low weight greats. Do you know what I mean? He's going to go down as a legend as well. Absolute pleasure to watch. Even though they're in my weight category, I'm a fan of both. I love sitting there watching the pair of them. They both entertain. They both bring it. But I fancy same result. I fancy Inoue to win. He possibly could get a late stoppage, obviously with the age favouring Inoue now a lot more. But last time I did tip Inoue to stop him back end of the fight, and Donaire obviously showing his true grit and the talent that he's got. He stayed in there and he lasted the 12 rounds. But I fancy Inoue again.
Looking at those two guys in terms of their pedigree, so you've got Inoue who's pound for pound ranked, and you've got Donito who's an all-time great. If you was given the choice of not who you think is going to win, but who you'd want to fight in terms of testing your skills against, who's the fight that you'd rather take? An all-time great that's maybe past his best, or a current pound for pound ranked megastar in Inoue?
Yeah, you want to be in with the megastar, don't you? You want. I know. It sounds mad because they call him the monster, and they call him a monster for a reason, because of how hard he hits, head and body, and he finishes people. It's unheard of that people in the lower weights put people to sleep. He puts them fast asleep. But you want to test yourself, and I'd happily go to Japan. Pay me the good bucks. I've been in this game for 23 years, mate. I want something out of it. Do you know what I mean? I've been a two-time world champion. That's great. But I want to walk away from the sport healthy and with a lot of money in my bank.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, I'm not sure if you've seen this on social media, and it might be, us boxing folk just trying to stir the pot a little bit. But in the hours, the days around you being announced as the full WBO champion, Sonny Edwards said something about, Probellum, give me a shout, I'll move up 2 weights for a world title shot. There's been a little bit of needle there previously on social media. Do you think that was a potential maybe challenging you 2 weights above where he's at the minute?
Possibly, yeah, but that's just Sonny being Sonny, isn't it? He's controversial all over Twitter. I try not to go on Twitter because I just can't be arsed of it, to be honest with you. It's not me that he's had the beef with on Twitter neither. It was my dad.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, nothing to do with me. I seen him at the Newcastle show. He shook my hand. He asked if he was all right. He asked if he was all right. He's a nice kid. He likes a little bit of controversy on Twitter. I think it's just to get his name out there to be spoke about. But listen, that's the boxing game. That's the game we're involved in. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So, just finally to touch on Gallagher's Gym, Joe Gallagher, he's got a thriving stable at the minute. There's been a lot of chopping and changing over the past couple of years with the pandemic and whatnot. But you got yourself, Tasha Jonas, both WBO reigning world champions, and there's been a bit of a change in the guard. I remember speaking to Joe Gallagher. I think it was May 2020 before the Joseph Parker, Douchisora Bill, and he had Tasha on the undercard there. He had Marcus when he was challenging Chris Eubank. And I remember him saying then that when this current crop's done with, I might call it a day, because the Smith brothers are moving on. Scott Quigg called it a day. Crawler had called it a day. And now you're looking, there's like Callum Thompson, there's Sean Yaxley, there's Mark Efron, there's Charlie Edwards, and he's starting it all over again.
Yeah,
it's a thriving gym.
Yeah, Joe won't walk away. He's a born winner. Do you know what I mean? He's very much like myself. If he's even playing pigeon toss, he wants to win, Joe. Like I say, he's a born winner. If he hears like someone say, "Oh, that stable's finished," or "they're not as good as they used to be," or "they won't win another world title," that's boom, tunnel vision, boom, we're doing that. Do you know what I mean? And he's got an unbelievable stable there at the moment. We've got some right good up and coming kids coming through as well. So the gym at the moment is absolutely bouncing. You walk in there and it's just bouncing. Do you know what I mean? Like I went in today to speak to Ronaldo Reports, and just walk in the gym, it just puts a smile on your face when you walk in a gym. It's not like you're walking into work and it's like, you bothered with this today. It's just like, oh, you walk in and you just smile. I think that's what a gymnasium should be like. Everyone bouncing off each other. Me and Tasha are now world champions. I think CJ's not too far away from a world title himself. You've got Mark Efron boxing for the British title soon. Everyone's in the mix, do you know what I mean? And it's nice to see. And then you've got your Charlie Edwards. I think he's on the verge of a final eliminator. And then you've got your kids that are about to make the debuts. You've got Callum Thompson that's 4-0, and he's obviously wanting to push on this year. So the gym is bouncing at the moment, and yeah, you've got no chance of Joe moving away anytime soon.
Fantastic, good to hear. So do you feel like your position within the gym has changed at all? You know, forgive me, you're only 33 years of age, but with your experience, pardon?
I'm one of the vets now in the gym.
That's it. You know, after in years gone by, you might have been one of the challengers, and now you're.
I went I think it's nearly 6 years since I joined Joe's gym. I boxed for my first world title with him against Rodriguez 4 years ago. I think it was yesterday. It's mad how time flies, and it's gone like that for me. I've been a pro for 12 years now. I think I've been in the game for 23 years. It's mad, time flies, me.
So with this recent world title win and a potential undisputed fight coming up, is the fire still burning as strong as ever?
As strong as ever, mate. Now I've got that world title around my waist. It's brand new all again. Do you know what I mean? You're chasing goals that, like, I've just achieved another goal. I've always wanted to become world champion again, and always go into the ring to defend my world title because I never got the chance to last time. I've achieved that goal. Now I want to go and unify or challenge for other belts. You know what I mean? So I'm always pushing myself that little bit. And listen, like I touched on before, I go in the gym with a smile on my face. I go to work with a smile on my face. If you go into work with a smile on your face, you'll never work a day in your life. I've always believed that, and that's what I do. I go in with a smile every day, and I come out with a smile.
Absolutely. And speaking of smiling, not that it's, as a Man United fan myself, it's not been a time to smile for me, but as a Liverpool fan, what a week of Champions League football away from the boxing. What a week as a Liverpool football supporter.
Yes, up the Reds, eh? Up the Reds. We're flying, absolutely flying. Paris soon.
How painful was it watching that Villarreal game? Was there a part where your heart was in your mouth when you went 2-0 down?
Well, I'm thinking, what are we doing here? This isn't going to be us against Barcelona all over again, is it? I'm thinking, no, this can't happen. But I'm screaming at the telly, get Diaz on. He keeps holding. First off, we couldn't string 4 passes together. It's not like us. Diaz gets on the ball, he keeps hold of it, he passes it, he never loses a pass. I'm screaming, get Diaz on. He comes on, he changes the game. He's some player, absolute buy of the season. Tough game in the final, but it'd be nice to get revenge on them. As Mo Salah said, we've got unfinished business with them. I think Salah wants it because of what the shoulder injury when he went off. He was obviously gutted. So I hope we do them, and the quadruple's coming, innit?
Oh man, it'd kill me that, because the one thing as a United fan that I can cling to is the treble. No one's got near to doing that again. Never mind the quadruple.
I know. Well, I train with Crawler and Joe, and there's a few City fans in there as well, and we have some right good banter. Like, I think it's only me, Tash, and James that are Liverpool fans, so we have a good bit of banter in the gym.
Yeah, so it promises to be an exciting end to the season, and hopefully, an exciting end to 2022. I'm almost forgetting the year there. The end of 2022, hopefully we'll look at an undisputed fight for Paul Butler. But Paul, I appreciate your time tonight. It's always a pleasure to catch up, and I'm sure we'll catch up again over the summer.
No, it's top man, mate. Anytime you want to chat, I'm always here.